What's up guys, No Life here. Today we're working on part 3 of my series, and today we will cover a character that is very well known among the community at this point for how absolutely awful he is to fight. So I will attempt to try to fix some of these issues and how to balance part 3. This will be Rapid Deku. Alright, so let's start with the first section that a lot of the problems arise with. To start, this character is very forgiving. There's little risk to a lot of what he has. He has a high amount of tracking, and overall, he doesn't get punished like how he should. Some of his moves may have lag on them, but they don't feel like they have the same amount of risk as other laggy options. For example, ground alpha. You can fire these surprisingly quick, and it is a get out of jail free card with a massive hitbox. It lets him hit people when he's not even aiming at them. Like this for example. Oh dang it, aim assist. Like this. It's really strong, and it makes the character very tough to actually approach. Same thing with beta, you don't really need to aim it. The game kind of does that for you. But yeah, it's the same thing with like all of his skills really. His melee has an insane lunge, particularly on the air melee, which makes the character very hard to actually face. A lot of the character just gives you free reward without having to put the same amount of effort in as you would with some other characters. Even some moves like Air Alpha that are for the most part fine, it still has a pretty forgiving hitbox, all things considered. Let me turn aim assist off for this. But it has a fairly forgiving hitbox. And overall, it's not that hard to hit. And this is probably like the least forgiving part of his kit. Alright, the second thing that is an issue is just the low skill expression on the character. Every single time you see a Rapid Deku, it's always the same thing. They put on 5-gen occasionally, maybe, and they just fly around, they fire out their alphas, go in for a melee, get overdrive, lock on wake up. It's the same loops every time. You rarely ever see any of them actually do anything interesting. And even when melee loops are a thing, you still don't really see, like, you see Rapid Dekus go for it, but it ends up being so easy to do and so integral to his game plan that you see it way more often than you should. Because it's just every melee they would go for it. Not to mention, regarding the forgiving aspect again, his gear shift. It lasts for a long time and refreshes to a full 100% upon hitting a melee. Hitting any one of these uppercuts and it's all the way back at 100, guaranteed, which is also extremely forgiving, not really make a lot of sense. So what the goal of my changes today are going to be to try and reduce how dumb Rapid Deku is and exchange him out for something that makes more sense, giving him more combo routes potentially to make him more interesting, and hopefully reducing the parts that make him very, very corny, very cheesy, very hated. Yeah. So let's get right into it. Okay, so for section 2, we're gonna start this here. I'm gonna separate the changes that I make to each move into the changes I do for alpha, beta, and gamma, instead of showing them all on screen at once, because there's a lot of changes here, and showing them all at once would probably clutter the screen way too much. So instead, I'm just going to focus on each skill at a time, and we'll go from there. So for alpha, there are a few main issues I have with this skill. First off, its ammo count is fine, but the reload per charge, it feels way too short. Out of all of the alphas in the game, I don't think this one should be a 1-second reload. I think this one should be closer to 2 or maybe even 2.5 seconds per charge. I don't think ground alpha needs to take extra ammo. I know that's a common take, And I see it, that might be in the third section, but I really just want this cooldown to be made a bit worse, so he can't spam it. Alright, now for the next changes, this one will be regarding ground alpha. Ground alpha will be receiving a down power reduced. Now, you might think, this is crazy, but I'm gonna try to reduce it so he can't win against situations like that. Kiri should hit me there, and I shouldn't be able to knock him down. Kiri should get the advantage in that situation, but because it's 500 down power, it doesn't. So I'll be reducing the down power on this to 300. This means that if he is in a good situation, he will effectively get the same follow-ups as you would with a lock-on, being full melee, or, you know, things like that. Trust me, there will be other changes meant to accommodate this to a degree. This will not be just the only thing that I do to this. The second thing, endlag. This skill was advertised for being the laggier option, but having more damage and the knockdown, which in practice it's not really true, because look at this fire rate. Now look at the ground alpha fire rate. It's not really any slower, and that's because the second the shot comes out, you gain control over your character. I would change this to increase the ending lag on his alpha, so that way it has to be like this. Something like that. That way you can't just spam them. The best fire rate you'll get would be like this. I still think that's kind of a lot. I still think that's a pretty good fire rate. But let's see what it would look like without overdrive up. That is an important distinction to make. So without overdrive, I would want it to look something like this. Not quite, maybe not quite like full ending lag, but like this would be the ideal fire rate idea that I would be going for. Keep in mind, I'm moving slightly in between each of these, but in my theoretical, this would just be the end lag. So it would be kind of using this ending lag animation, except I have to kind of cancel it manually in order to get the fire rate that I ideally would want. So as a showcase, this is about what it would be. Just pretend I'm not actually moving in between them. I think that's fair. Now for ground alpha as well, I will be removing its ability to be canceled after the shot comes out. This type of stuff will still work. You will still be able to use it to get armor and then retaliate. I think this is an underutilized part of his kit that I do really like. I think it's fun. But after the shot comes out, there will be no more canceling it into roll. This is most prominent with overdrive. Like, there's no risk to this. So this will be changed. After the shot comes out, you will not have any cancel opportunities. You cannot cancel into anything, which means that ending lag that I placed on his ground alpha, you're dealing with this. No matter what. This is your punishment for using ground alpha. You have some ending lag, you're vulnerable. You're actually going to have an opportunity to attack, especially if you whiff. So it's going to be a lot less guaranteed. Alright, so I think that's it regarding alpha. I don't really want to change air alpha that much. It feels very good. Ground alpha, I don't want to reduce its damage. I don't want to reduce the damage on any of his, on his alpha. Let me, let's move on to beta now. Beta. Now, this one might be a bit more of a controversial take, but I'm going to give his beta some combo potential. It always seems weird to me that this punch forward like this, and that's kind of just it. You don't get any follow-ups. I want to see stuff like that work. I want to see beta, air melee, in a ground melee combo, or beta, air alpha. I want to see these combos work. Also, wouldn't mind if something like beta, air melee beta became a thing, because I think that's fun. So the down power on beta will be getting reduced. This will go down to 300, meaning it will also get the same amount of follow-ups as a lock-on gamma would. being a full melee if he decides. Now keep in mind there will be other changes made to hopefully make this a little less, potent. Like, I've also justified a quite significant cut to its damage in order to accommodate this combo potential. 100? That doesn't seem like a lot. I would reduce this down to 80. This would accommodate its combo potential and would lose minus 20 at level 1. And then at level 9, it does 140. I would reduce that to 110. So, this beta now becomes a combo tool, which should help improve the skill ceiling of the character and give more skill expression. Especially considering when you're too close like this, you'd fly really far past your opponent and likely wouldn't have as many follow-ups as if you were angling it like this, where beta is much harder to hit. Keep in mind, air melee will be getting a tracking nerf when, if it comes around to that part. So, the idea is to hopefully have him try and aim his betas, and potentially even use charged beta to get the extra distance he needs in order to start a combo. I want him to have beta as a combo tool. Currently, it's kind of just one hit and that's it. I think that's very boring, so I would change that. Additionally, the sparks, they do 23 a hit and they stagger. I would reduce these sparks to 10. I don't think you should get much extra damage for the sparks. I know you have to be close to them, but again, beta is becoming a combo tool, so something like this would more than make up the damage. That would more than make up the damage loss on the sparks and the beta hit itself. This is simply adding more skill expression to the character and giving him more fun ways to actually play at the game. And regarding quintuple, many of you think I'm going to nerf this. No, I'm going to leave quintuple alone. I think quintuple's in a really good spot right now. It hits pretty hard, but it kind of should. It is very easy to predict. He sends himself really high into the sky. It also hard knocks, so he doesn't have combo potential after it, which I think is good. I think this is where it should be. I actually like where quintuple's at. The only change I might suggest for quintuple, and this will probably be in the third section, but I'll just mention it here, is making this... I messed it up. Making something like this cost both ammo would be about the only change I would consider for quintuple. And even then, that's not a change I'm gonna mention right here. That'll be later on. Alright, now, time to move on to the section that'll probably be the biggest by far. His gamma. I have consulted a couple people in the guide server to get an idea of what changes they would like to see for gamma. And so far, there's one main thing that I agreed with significantly, and I would like to see added. Now, your gear shift duration will be cut significantly. Think level 1 gear shift will be comparable to level 9 Recipro. This is important knowledge. AKA, this duration will be going down. This will also remain true for when he's in his overdrive states. His level 9 duration will be a bit longer than Recipro, but it won't be too crazy. Just think of Recipro and compare it very similar to that, with level 9 adding on a few extra seconds. Now, every time you land an uppercut and go up a gear, you will refresh to full. However, once you reach gear 5 and you're in that maximum gear, you will no longer refresh anything. This is your last stand. This is the end of your battle. If you can't secure the job with the final stage of gear shift, then you have to leave. You can't stay in the fight. Additionally, I will be adding a burnout type effect to his gamma. So, if he hits 0, he will be stuck very still. It takes so long to hit 0. But if he hits 0 on his gamma, he will be left in a Recipro burnout type of effect. I would say an appropriate duration for this burnout would be probably a little bit less than Ida's. Let's say Strike Denki. When he holds his beta to full, he goes stupid for a bit. It'd be like this. That time where he can't move his character, I will be holding forward. So that time where he's stunned and completely incapable of moving, that's about the duration of Rapid Deku's burnout. However, to make it different from a character like Ida, this burnout will not let him move at all. He is stuck completely still in the animation, very akin to what Denki had to just deal with. Recipro, when it burns out, you can still do rolls and move around very slowly. Deku will not have the same luxury. Deku will not be able to use healing items during this time. He will not be able to move at all. He will not be able to roll. If you catch him at the end of his gear shift, he will be dead, most likely. Deku should be encouraged to get in very close and get his overdrive. However, it will come with a big drawback. For the record, this overdrive cost thing, or this burnout thing, will apply to all gear shift levels equally, as well as all different gears equally. They will all be affected by this, every single one of them. This should hopefully add some counterplay to his kit and make him more interesting to fight, because now instead of him just wailing on you the entire fight with you having nothing that you can do about it, he will now have to actually back off, disengage, and reconsider the fight, similar to what Ida has to do. Ida will be getting his own changes when he comes around, but that's the design space I'm going for here. I don't want him to stay in the fight forever, but I also want him to be a combo demon. When he gets his hands on you, I want it to hurt. Anyway, the next change I would make regarding his gamma is the lock-on effect. If you do not know, you can release lock-on early, which gives you the ability to, you know, release it early, of course, and catch, like, wake-ups very easily, because you can mix up when you release it. Lock-on will be receiving a change. In order to lock on to somebody, you will need to hold it until it manually lets go. If you don't, all you will get is a dash. That's all you will get. You will, even if you are locking onto somebody like this situation right here, you just get a small dash. Yeah, so that should hopefully reduce the potency of his lock-on ability. Additionally, his lock-on's damage will be going down heavily. This is not good. As a good showcase of how much damage it does, at level 1, it does 133, which is way too high. And at level 9, it does 155, I believe. This will be getting reduced significantly. His lock-on at level 1 will be going down to 90 damage, and at level 9, it will go up to 120. It will not go beyond this. Which means at level 9 lock-on, doing this would barely break guard, if that, after tuning. This would probably only end up doing, like, their whole shield, and then, like, 5 extra HP damage or something like that. Additionally, you know, lock-on, air alpha, stuff like that, yeah. Also, the lock-on, this will no longer be techable until they, like, hit the ground. This way, actually locking on to do a full melee becomes a thing that is completely true, regardless of frame rate. If you aren't aware, this is actually sort of frame rate dependent. If your frames are higher than the opponent, lock on into full melee is a true combo. Otherwise, it's techable. So I would change that to make it always a true combo. And I think that's it regarding the lock-on that I want to do for regarding his gamma. So let's move on to his other abilities. This will be considering special action, and it will be considering his melee. Special action. Smokescreen. This shit is ass. This shit sucks. What is that size? So, smokescreen will be getting some changes to it. First off, it will now cost 50% of your special instead of 30. I don't like how you can spam 4 of these. It seems very unnecessary. However, its size will be getting massively increased. It will now cover, if I use it in the middle of a bridge, it will now cover to the end of these pink lines on both sides.
Found an enemy.
It would cover to both ends. So using it right here would create a massive circle. So it would be roughly about 2 to 3 times its current size right now. I would make it much, much bigger. This is actually a disrupting tool now. Regarding Fajin, I would make no changes to it. I think Fajin's in a good spot right now. Maybe making it drain slightly faster so we can't have it up as much, but we'll save that for section 3. And the other change I will make to special action, this will be the last one I'll make the special, cooldown. Its cooldown currently is just like 7 seconds for the whole gauge. I would change this to make it go up by %, and it can gain 5% every second. Something along those lines. Maybe this could be buffed in the future. Who knows? But yeah, I would make it go up by % instead of just going up flat to 100. Especially considering the cost of smoke screen will be increased to 50. So this lets you do like a smoke screen, wait half a second, do another smoke screen, and then you have like 2% left to do the final smoke screen with. I think that could work and make the skill more interesting. And regarding his melees, many of you may have realized that gave him a lot more combo potential and it would make him very much so harder to deal with a lot of the time. So I've justified a significant nerf to his melee. The tracking on his air melee will be cut back by 75%. Stuff like this would no longer work. For it to track, you need to be about here. That is the amount of tracking it will have. It will have no more than this. Additionally, his ground melee tracking will be reduced by 25%. Currently, it tracks for really long distances, going like this. Its tracking on its ground melee variant will be reduced to about there. Nothing too significant. I don't want to completely kill the ground melee tracking, but this will be, you know, much more committal. And thanks to this tracking change, hopefully, this should fix melee loops. I know the devs tried to fix it, but I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it did not really work. I've been melee looped several times already this season. And yeah, hopefully this will actually fix the issue. Yeah, hopefully with the reduced tracking on ground melee, this won't be a thing anymore. If it ends up still being a thing, I would reduce ground melee's tracking by enough to make sure that it's not a thing. Let me do it with a gamma, because I know gamma sends them way higher in the air. Yeah. Alright, well, just rest assured, it is a thing. I'm very bad at it because it actually takes some effort to do now, but it does still exist and it would likely be removed. So, as a TLDR for this character, before we move on to section 3, I will be adding extra combo potential to him. I will be giving him more ways to get significant damage, but I would also be cutting back on the tracking and his priority on ground alphas significantly, and his lock-on ability. So overall, he will be less forgiving. A lot of what he will do will no longer be very, like, free damage. But now he's actually rewarded for having a good amount of skill and actually performing these combos on a regular basis. That is the goal here. I hope I was able to succeed with that. If not, we'll get to section 3, which I will start now. Section 3. If it was not enough, if he still needs nerfs after all of this, the first place I would look, that damage right there. I would reduce each of the uppercuts by 5 or 10 points in damage in order to make his full melee combo do significantly less. If he still needs nerfs after that, I would look into potentially changing how much the dash costs on his gamma, and maybe potentially doing further edits to how the refreshing works, like potentially only letting him regain 50% per gear, something like that potentially. Or just further reducing his damage on the skills that might be the problem. Like if beta into air melee, full melee ends up being too strong and too abusable, maybe reducing beta's damage even further. However, keep in mind at level 9 it will be doing significantly less damage than it does now anyway. This is now a combo tool. Yeah. I think that's it for all I can say if he's too strong. Now, if he's too weak and needs buffs, potentially reducing his smoke screen cost back down to 30%. Potentially, you know, if he still needs buffs, you could give him more gear shift duration, or, you know, simply just buff his cooldowns, or if his damage is just insanely low and it makes it really hard to get anything done on the character, then potentially you could focus more on buffing up the damage. I wouldn't change his alpha in any way, but if his damage is really low, I would increase his beta primarily. Though I don't think that will be a problem. I think his damage will be totally fine. I don't think this character will be weak by any means. He'll just be a lot more balanced. Alright, that'll be all for the Rapid Deku video. I know you guys are probably very excited for this one because this character is very polarizing and very hated, which I do agree. This character is definitely very hated. He's very annoying, very corny. I would give him a bunch of significant changes like the ones I suggested now. I just want him to be less corny, more skill expressive, and that's just kind of the goal here. And I think giving his beta combo potential in exchange for a few other things. Ground Alpha would also have combo potential, but rest assured, Ground Alpha would not be true. And Ground Alpha into anything would not be true. They would all be techable. He would just be able to do things like this, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, that's all for today's video, folks. I'm glad you guys took the time out of your day to watch this. And yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow with Strike Bakugo, who, despite me saying is the ideal position for every character, he will have some changes of his own made. He will be getting reworked because a lot of his design is very stupid. So he will be receiving some reworks. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and peace.